We all seem to have this love-hate relationship with social media, and whether it's been healthy for your life or unhealthy, there's no denying the fact that as an artist, social media is necessary as you work to establish and build your brand. And I believe you can actually bring value into people's day and even interject hope and positivity into some pretty dark corners instead of simply barfing out more noise and distraction, which is something all of us could use a lot less of. No cap. Hey again, I'm Kevin McNeese, founder here at Christian Artist Pro, where we help independent Christian artists and creatives build sustainable and impactful music ministries by defining attainable and reachable goals, realistic and budget-saving next steps, and ongoing encouragement in an ever-changing and evolving music industry. And today we're going to be starting a conversation on social media. Now, if you've watched any of my videos so far on this channel, you know that I like to get in and out as quickly as possible. You're busy, you've got plenty of things to do, and there are lots of deep dives on every single subject that you are welcome to go discover after you get a taste of inspiration here. But before you just tune out and start doing, you might want to hang on for a few minutes because I think I can actually save you a lot of time and stress around managing your social media. So for this conversation, I just want to share with you a concept that I was taught a few years ago that wildly changed my view of how I approach various social media channels to market and build the various brands that I'm in charge of managing. But before I do that, I do want to share with you where I'm at right now at this moment with social media, as I think it will help give you some more context. In 2021, I walked away from social media. I fully abandoned it. It wasn't something I necessarily wanted to do, but it was something that I needed to do. It was becoming destructive in my life in many ways, and I just didn't need it. So I archived all of my personal accounts. I created a ghost account to manage my business accounts, and I surrounded myself with other people who were passionate about these various platforms to take care of all of my business channels. And I was pretty set. Okay, we did it. We avoided social media. And then 2 months later, I was offered a job as a digital director at a local ministry that I was professionally growing with. And so, of course, social media was a big part of that job description. And I had to laugh and just go, God, really? we just conquered this mountain. This was a pretty big deal. And now you're dropping it right back into my lap. And it was there that this idea of how to approach and think about how to use social media really came to life. So I have spent the last 2 years in this really weird balancing act of managing social media in my personal life while exploring social media with other artists and brands. Now, there are two things I want you to consider before you just start posting on every social media channel that you can think. One, what are the pros and cons of social media? Let's talk about it. And two, how can you use these channels differently to engage a larger collective audience? So let's talk about the pros really quick. Of course, you can reach a lot of people almost immediately. There are billions of people on these social media channels, which we'll talk about here in a minute. You can engage that audience in real time. I do love this about social media. You can post something and get almost immediate feedback and interaction from social. It is a very immediate format. You can also build an audience and a following. And I think this is really cool. I mean, there are businesses that have been created simply out of social media followings. It's actually quite fascinating. Of course, some cons. It's a huge time suck, like a massive time suck. Like that's the biggest con. It's just, it takes so much time. And as an artist and a brand builder, you know how much time it can actually take. It can be overwhelming how much time you feel you need to spend on social media. It can also be a massive, huge distraction. I mean, think about, you've gone into social media to post about your new song or to post about something you're doing or a place you're playing, and then you find an hour and a half later, you've gone down all of your friends' lists and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's just like, where did all that time go? That was time that was wasted that you could have been using to build your brand. Or I don't know, hang out with your family and friends or doing something else. It can just be a massive distraction in your own personal life. It can also be mentally draining. I've talked to so many artists who just don't engage in social at all because they're like, I feel like I need to feed it this beast 4 times a day, 7 days a week on 10 different channels. And who has time to do that? So I'm not going to do any of it. And that's just like tapping out and being absolutely defeated and mentally drained. There's a better way to approach social media. Also, it can get really expensive if you're using any kind of paid marketing. There's so many people on social media. It is a never-ending bucket that you can just throw your money into all day long if you want to. Ultimately, the biggest con, I think, for social media, you don't own your audience. You don't own your followers. You don't. You're using a platform that other people control, other entities control. And they can deplatform you. They can shadow ban you. They can limit the amount of people who see you. They can do really whatever they want. The algorithms can change and everything you're doing can change tomorrow. It is an ongoing fear for many content creators on how to continually own and reach the audience that they have built on a platform that isn't theirs. That's kind of crappy. And so you have to know these things going into social media, or else you're just going to get burnt out really quick. You're going to waste a lot of time and resources, and at the end of the day, you're going to achieve little to nothing. One way to waste that time is by being in way too many places. I believe artists need to focus on 3 to 5 channels. Now, there are plenty of debate out there on which ones you need to get your full attention. So instead of making a case for these channels, I just want to encourage you on how to look at these channels differently. You can really apply this whether you're on 2 channels or whether you're on 20. And I believe it's going to unlock how you engage in these areas. A lot of artists, what they do is they create content and then they just send it out and it looks exactly the same on every single channel. And why create the same content 5 times? Well, the why is because there's a different audience. You're going to approach this audience differently based on what they are looking for and who they are. And you have to keep that front and center when you're creating social media content. So, okay, let's look at the top 5 places I think every artist needs to be. The first one is, of course, it's Facebook. It's 3 billion people are there. It's a massive audience, but here's how I want you to look at Facebook. It's very corporate-y right now. The audience is a little bit older. 25 to 34 make up almost 30%. 1 in every 3 users are in that age group. They're kind of getting more established in their life. They want the information. They want to know. They want to know where you're playing, what music you're releasing, what are you doing. It's going to be very event driven. So I want you to think of Facebook as just like your news billboard, like it had a big giant cork board, and you were just sticking up announcements, and then the community was coming by and getting an idea of what you're up to. And I think that's a good way to use Facebook. All right, let's look at Instagram. This is the second channel that I think you need to be at. 2 billion users, so almost just as big as Facebook. But instead of the corporate route, you really need to be using Instagram like you would a family photo album. Like if you sat your family down, you wouldn't show them an advertisement of you guys going to Disney World, or like you're going to Disney World, and it would be a nice little flyer. It would be the photos of you at Disney World, and this is what people expect at Instagram. Not only the photos, but also the videos and the reels that you can post as well. But this is just kind of bringing your audience into your personal life. Now, a lot of artists don't like this idea. They want to keep their personal life and their professional life very, very separate. That's totally fine. You can do this without taking a picture of yourself in your living room. Take a picture of you in the studio or out on a walk, or just your thoughts of your day. Use your own music as the background to some reels. There's a lot of different ideas on how you can create content. Again, I don't want to get too much in the weeds of what content we're going to create. I just want you to start thinking of this channel differently. So you have one post on Facebook, that's not going to go on Instagram, but you can have a similar type of content on Instagram. You're just going to frame it a little differently. So let's talk about the third one, and that's X. X was formerly Twitter, and now it's some weird random letter, whatever. I'll always know it as Twitter. I don't know about you. Very skewed on male audience. So 63% male. And view this as kind of like the dinner table conversation. You invite a bunch of friends over and you guys all have the same conversation. And sometimes you're talking across two people and these two people are talking across the table this way. And it's just everywhere and it's going all at once. But it's very in the moment, thought-based conversation. And I think that's how artists should be using X. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to discuss? What do you want your audience to be chewing on? What do you want to inspire them with? These are just bits and nuggets of information that you're going to be posting on X. Very conversational driven. TikTok is one of the fourth of the five that I think you need to be on. But this is kind of a weird one where I'm making this video in 2024, and the U.S. government just signed into law a potential ban of TikTok. It's all this China-owned stuff, and they're trying to break it apart, and they've got 280 days now to do it, and who knows what's going to happen. My view on TikTok right now, you need to be there because it's got 1.7 billion monthly active users, and 78% of Gen Z in the United States are on TikTok. So it's a lot of people. But this is short form video. This is going to be where it's pushing people towards your music, but it's done in a very creative, engaging way that is under 60 seconds. So again, we'll talk about, I'm really trying to not get into different content ideas because we're going to go there in a little bit. But I just want you to think of this channel way differently. You're not posting the same content on TikTok as you are on Instagram and Facebook and X. This is going to look very, very differently. Do you want to spend a lot of time engaging in a platform that might disappear from the United States in a year? I don't know. Personally, I would engage the platform, but I wouldn't spend all my efforts into that channel at this point. And then the fifth place that I think you need to be at is YouTube, of course. It's the largest search engine, the second largest search engine in the entire world. And that's a really interesting way to think about YouTube. This is where people can find you based on search and keywords and different things like that. So instead of just posting a music video or a lyric video, how can you create content so people can find you and engage with you differently? So start thinking about those ways, and we'll talk about specific examples down the road. But on YouTube, people are really wanting entertainment and education. They're not wanting you to advertise to them at all. Entertain them and educate them. So those are the 5 channels that I would recommend artists focus on. And if you're going to drop one of these, I think X would be the one to go. That way you only have 4. Kevin, you didn't mention Snapchat, SoundCloud, Reddit, Pinterest, True Social, Rumble, LinkedIn, all these. Look, if you have the team and the resources, go for it. But what we've talked about here still applies. How are these channels different? What are their strengths and weaknesses? And what does your audience look like there? That should define the content that you're posting on each individual channel. And remember, we did talk about this in a previous video. Even if you are not planning to have a presence, register your usernames on these social media channels everywhere. It should be consistent as possible. So once you decide where you want to focus, you need to put some intentionality behind what kind of content you're going to create for this channel. As I've said a couple times here, we're going to avoid that conversation right now. We're going to go deep into that a little bit later. But I just want you to do your best to not create a bunch of noise and distraction. So many artists use social media to do 2 things. Hey, I've got a new single. Hey, I've got a new tour. Go listen to it and go see me live. And that's it. It's a bulletin board. And I think your audience is demanding a little bit more from you. If you can't give that to them, don't be there. All you're doing is adding more noise and distraction to the mix. This is a way you can build your brand beyond your music and your song, which is ultimately the goal here at Christian Artist Pro, how you can actually build an audience. It's way beyond your song and your release. All right, I hope you got some value out of this conversation. If you did, please hit subscribe. I would love to see your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you think I'm completely off base, or there's another media channel that you want to talk about, don't say Spotify and music. I mean, you're releasing music. Those are DSPs, digital service providers. They are not social media channels. But maybe I missed one. I mean, I don't think I'm right all the time. Sometimes, not all the time. And you can prove me wrong in the comments. So thanks for hanging around. We'll talk soon. Take care.